I'd like to introduce our panelists, starting from my far right. Howard Platt started his radio career in Culpeper, Virginia, moved to Salisbury in 1978. He's the voice of Rowan County High School football and basketball and Legion baseball. He's also been, at one point, the voice of the Catawba Indians, and you probably know him if you live around here as one of the morning guys on WSTP radio here in Salisbury. Please welcome the 2003 NSSA North Carolina Sportscaster of the Year, Howard Platt. For almost 2 decades, Mick Mixon was Woody Durham's color man on University of North Carolina football and basketball games on the radio. He switched over to the NFL and the Carolina Panthers in 2005. Ironically or coincidentally, I always got this one confused. He and Woody are the NSSA Co-Sportscasters of the Year this year. For Mick, his 4th North Carolina Award, Mick Mixon. Our next panelist had stints at Carson Newman and Marshall University. Stan Cotten, he has been the voice of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons for 14 seasons, right? 14? 15?
14.
14 seasons. That's hard to believe. He was the NSSA's North Carolina Sportscaster of the Year in 2001 and 2006. Please welcome Stan Cotten. Marty Brennaman started in High Point on TV, but then like Howard Platt, Marty Brennaman moved to Salisbury, did American Legion baseball play-by-play, a 4-time NSSA Virginia Sportscaster of the Year with the ABA's Virginia Squires. Brennaman moved to Cincinnati, where he has been the play-by-play voice of the Cincinnati Reds since 1974, is that correct? 74. An NSSA Hall of Famer, he recently was voted NSSA Ohio Sportscaster of the Year for the 15th time. Please say hi to Marty Brennaman. We'll have a couple questions to get us started. If there are any audience members who would like to ask some questions, we will take those a little bit later, so start thinking of those right now. First question for the panel, and we'll start from the far end. Howard Platt, how did you get started doing play-by-play?
I always wanted to do that when I was a kid, and I ended up wanting to go in that direction after I graduated from the University of North Carolina, ironically in psychology, so much for that. But in any event, went to Culpeper, Virginia, and did my first play-by-play basketball was junior varsity basketball, and you do learn how to do play-by-play when you're doing JV basketball because you're doing everything yourself, and it's mainly a turnover factory. But did colored football then, and then when I got the opportunity to come to Salisbury, I found out I could do all the play-by-play sports, football, baseball, and basketball. Came here and have been here ever since.
Now, Mick, you did color and then moved to play-by-play. I know you had done some baseball for Fox Sports Net, ACC baseball, but talk about the transition from play-by-play to, from color to play-by-play.
Color men get to watch a better game, and first let me say, before I try to tackle that question, I see they have towels here and water in case the questions get too hard. But it is an unbelievable honor to be here, not only with you guys, but with his eminence of sports in Rowan County, Howard Platt, and with Stan, and of course Marty, 3 fine gentlemen that I'm proud to share the tables with up here. Color men get to watch a much better game than play-by-play announcers. If you're a color analyst, you have the luxury, in fact it is your job, you have an ethical responsibility to the game and to your audience, not to be a ball watcher. When you're a ball watcher, which a lot of people are and the TV cameras are, all you really see is whether it was a spiral, whether the shot has backspin on it or not. Basically you cheat yourself out of the real action. That beautiful ballet that's going on between the offensive and defensive linemen, the route tree, the coverages, in basketball, who's setting screens to free an offensive rebounder, what type of matchups are there, how is the defense deploying their personnel, and how's the offense trying to attack it. That's what the color guy gets to watch. All I really see, and all my colleagues up here really see, for example, during the pass play, is whether Jake Delhomme has taken a 5-7 or a 3-step drop. So I really enjoyed being a color analyst and trying to be an explainer of the games. And it's fun to be a play-by-play announcer too. I really like doing that as well. But sometimes a play will happen, Dave, and I'll kind of go, what? You know, I know I just described an 18-yard completion to the tight end, but I have no idea how he got open, which can be frustrating.
Stan, you're a former athlete. Talk about that transition from athlete to the mic.
Well, yeah, former is the key word there. I don't think anything good happens to anybody over 30 in athletics, if they're not a professional. So, but I was on a pretty good high school football team, as a matter of fact. I was on a high school team just west of Knoxville, Tennessee, and 8 kids off that one team signed Division I scholarships. I would have been the 9th if I'd had a better network of legs to work with, but they had a pretty severe knee injury back in the mid-'70s, and severe enough that I was pretty much done at that point. And as a matter of fact, the station that carries Tennessee games in Knoxville, where I'm from, was carrying our high school games on Friday night. And they said, look, you can't play anymore, but this team may be better than anybody, being the quarterback and a senior. And so here's a little tape recorder. Why don't you interview some of the guys, have some fun with it, give us some things we don't know. And so I played around with that a little bit and did some things that the radio station liked. Long story short, they offered me a part-time job, went to work at the radio station, and kind of fell in love with the old broadcasting deal, and found out that at least doing play-by-play or color, you're at the games. And that's what I love to do, and physically I couldn't be there anymore, but this was a way that I could be at every game and not get hurt. So it was a pretty good deal.
Now, Marty, we were just making the transition from the tin can and the string to the microphone when you started, correct?
Well, I grew up listening to Woody and Mick. Doing Carolina.
That hurts.
Other than being wanting to be a professional actor, this is the only thing I ever wanted to do. Once I realized you could starve to death trying to break into the theater, I gave it up, and I never wanted to be a 6 and 11 o'clock sports guy. I always wanted to be in the field doing play-by-play, and I've said a million times, the greatest thing that ever happened to me was coming here and working at WSTP for 5 years and doing everything that was humanly possible to do. I did Legion Ball, I did high school football and basketball, I did Catawba College football and basketball, I did Livingstone College football. It was really funny because when I moved from here to Norfolk to do the Virginia Squires, they sat me down and they said, now you realize that the number of games you're going to be doing is going to be vastly different in terms of numbers as opposed to what you've been used to doing. I said, really? And they said, yeah. They said, you're going to be doing upwards of 80, 85, 90 games. I said, well, you know what? I did about 76 basketball games last year, so I think I can handle the schedule. But this is where it happened for me. My son, who is incredibly talented and had a meteoric rise from doing weekend sports on television to doing the Reds on TV for 1 year with Johnny Bench, to doing the Cubs for 6 years, to the Diamondbacks for 11, doing Fox NFL football and basketball and doing our games on TV. For me, it started here, and I would not have changed anything. I love living in this town. I hated to leave it because of the people and because of the opportunity to do everything I could possibly do to try and improve myself in terms of being prepared to move on to a larger market. And I recommend it to young people all the time. They said, how's the best way to break in? I said, the best way to break in is in a small town atmosphere where there's no pressure on you to be good because they're not paying you enough to be good. And it worked for me, and it still will work for young guys today.